So Commissioner, the Cranston School District has decided to go fully remote, citing a rise of cases there. And this is a district-wide decision, not a certain school that's been impacted by COVID. So I want to know, do you agree with Cranston's decision to go fully remote, district-wide for the remainder of this week and until Tuesday?
So I think the challenge is that you know, every district is different and they have different challenges. They just don't have the staff in person to be able to run right now. So I think this is where we are. And really, we only have 2 more days left to this week.
I know staffing has been a major issue and one of the many reasons that districts are deciding to move to remote learning. I wanted to check in with you about the substitute teacher hiring. How is that going? How many have officially been hired? Have any of them started to work?
So the substitute teacher, it's great. We are still going through the vetting process. They are being trained by Highlander and they're available. Some of them are available right now for the districts. I don't have the number on me, but there are some available. The challenge is when it's so many. So you can have a couple of substitutes, but if, for example, a school has only 50 teachers and 25 of them are quarantined, it's still half a school. So I think that's the challenge. And what we want to reiterate and reemphasize is maintaining the protocol so that people don't have to be quarantined. So try not to be the close contact. So I think those are the things that we want to make sure that everybody is aware of. And as you know, because the governor has said it over and over, that a lot of these cases trace back to outside of school interactions and events.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to ask you about that because the governor has said over and over again, there are more cases among distance learners, but we know that's not true. The numbers among in-person learners are higher. Does she mean the ratio because there are so many more kids inside the classroom?
Well, it depends. 1 week distance learning is higher, another a week is in person. It all fluctuates, but the ratio, when you look at the percentage, it is higher in distance learning because you have a smaller percent on distance learning and their numbers are higher. So that is what she's referring to.
On the topic of contact tracing, we've been getting this question a lot recently. I know you and I talked about it just a couple of weeks ago, the last time we talked, this delay in hearing from the Department of Health that a student, a teacher has been a close contact of someone with the coronavirus. We've been hearing now that districts have been tasked with doing some of that contact tracing. Is that happening?
So yes, but it's not that they're tasked with just the contact tracing. So I'll give you an example. So if you're a student in a class and you have an assigned seat and there's 6 kids around you, those are the 6 kids that are close contact, and the Department of Health would be working with the school ordinarily to determine which are the close contacts. What the schools are doing now is determining those close contacts as they did in the past, but asking them to go remotely until the Department of Health contacts them, determines whether they should be quarantined. So what the school districts are being asked is to be proactive. They're still doing the same information, still reaching out with the Department of Health. So this is a proactive measure so that we can kind of catch it as the Department of Health does what they do because that is their responsibility. This is what they are doing. We're just trying to support them so that we can keep school running day to day.
So I just want to make sure I understand. Is there any change in the school district's role in contact tracing? Are they now being asked to do more, or is it sort of what it's been all along?
Well, it's what it's been all along. However, they are determining who goes distance learning. So let's go through that example again. So even before this shift, this extra measure, school districts had to work with the Department of Health. They were on the phone with the contact tracers. They had to give them the seating charts, the bus charts. They would have to do all these things because obviously a first grader is not going to say who's 6 feet or whatever. So if you had kids that had assigned seating and they were just in that area, then you would quarantine the 6 kids. If the classroom intermingles in some way, then you would quarantine the whole classroom. In this case, it's not quarantining because only the Department of Health can quarantine, but the district can say, as you wait for the results from the Department of Health, you're going to do distance learning. So that is what's happening right now. So it's an added measure, but it's only the Department of Health that can actually quarantine.
We've heard from a couple of districts that they feel like this is just another burden for them to carry. It's more work for them when they're already feeling the strain of the times that we're living in. What do you say to that complaint that contact tracing and their role in it is just too much?
Well, I think this is the determination that the Department of Health made. Some districts wanted it. Some districts requested it. Some superintendents said, hey, like I said, they were already looking at seating charts. They're already looking at busing charts. They're already on the phone all sorts of hours during the night trying to figure out who the close contacts are. So some districts wanted to be able to say, okay, I'm just going to make sure that this class goes distance learning until the Department of Health, because we know that there's a lot of people testing. We know that not just the numbers are going up, but we also know, we hear from the Department of Health that we are also doing more testing than other states. So that also involves follow up, and there's a lot of parts to it, but I really shouldn't be speaking to it. That's really the Department of Health who owns that process and does all of that work.
I know when you and my colleague Steph Machado spoke last week, you discussed the Providence turnaround plan. The Providence Teachers Union's contract expired last year. They've been without one now for many months. Where do things stand with those negotiations, and what are you hoping to see by the end of the school year?
Well, I have to say we have not made as much movement or traction as I would have liked or I expected, right? It's hard when we put adults' interests before children, right? And I think that we just need to move quickly so that we can get to that place, so that we can make changes. We need changes. I think that we all realize that what has been in place for years needs to change. We can't make change and still cling to the ideas of the past. We know that. When I first came here, I said, everybody wants change until change comes, right? And that means changing almost everything. And this is the one place that we just have not had the traction that we would like, or not that we would like, that we need. It's essential. It's essential. And we want to make sure that everyone moves in that direction.
You told the Boston Globe that negotiations are going nowhere, and if by the end of the year you've not made any changes, you're going to have to do something drastic. What is that something?
Well, I think that it's really revamping what we're doing, because we still need to move forward. I'll give you an example. Parent-teacher conferences are optional. That's not something that we can have as optional, right? I think we understand, teachers understand, they know how important it is to have that relationship with the parent, to have those conversations, to have that connection. So they understand, but right now it's optional. So we're just gonna have to forge ahead with the things that we know make sense. So that's part of what I was talking about. We as a city can't allow us not to continue to move forward. That's a responsibility we have to the community. And I know in that article that there were conversations about different initiatives, for example, on homeless students and having people do work around that. We agree with that. We just don't agree the way that it's carried out, right? I think that there's a lot of intricacies, right? You can say that you want certain things, but not willing to give up some of the priorities. For us, it's really important that principals have autonomy and the school community have autonomy over what happens over their building. That's really important.
We have a new president-elect, and with him a new administration. So I'm wondering what your hopes, what your wishes are from a Biden administration in terms of education in this country.
Well, I would hope, and my wish and my hope is that we prioritize children and that we put them front and center as we make decisions and changes, and that we continue to move forward in a way that we see the benefits and the outcomes for all our kids. For a very long time, what was clear for us that the pandemic made abundantly clear is the inequities that exist in education. For me, I've been describing COVID-19 as coming and sweeping up this rug where we've been hiding things about the inequities, sweeping it all under the rug. There is no rug anymore. So I hope that this administration pays attention to that. Also, the disenfranchised populations, we realized the disparities that existed with COVID-19, which we all knew, but now everybody else knows, right? And I hope that they prioritize closing that gap. So I have a lot of hope and faith. And it's the first woman of color, first vice president who's a woman, which is like amazing. So it gives a lot of hope for our young girls as we look forward. So it's just really what we believe in.
Commissioner, anything else you'd like to add or let people know this afternoon?
Well, I think that it's important that you find out more about all the accomplishments that we've made in the first year of the turnaround plan. We're going to have some forums that are going to be posted and available. Please come so you can hear the changes. What I want everyone to hear is that we heard from the parents, the students, what was important, and we've moved on those things. So we heard you and we did it. And I think that's what I want people to know. You know, it's a broken foundation. We're rebuilding that foundation, but we have moved on the issues that the community raised as priorities for them.
Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.